And without further ado, we're going to launch into this reaction, the natural way to meet. Hope you're ready. Hope you enjoy it.
Well, I had hoped by this time of the night to be with someone besides you.
Well, you're not exactly my dream date either.
What is our problem? I mean, our mothers think we're cute.
I'm serious. Have you ever stopped to analyze what went wrong again? I mean, why are some people getting into these nice relationships and we always seem to end up frustrated?
Maybe we're saying the wrong things or pushing the wrong buttons. I don't know.
I know. It's like I'm losing my confidence. Sometimes you don't even know what to say to a woman anymore, or how to act. I went up to this one woman and we started talking, and I thought we were hitting it off. The next thing I know, she's giving me the cold shoulder, and then she turns and walks away. I don't know what I did wrong.
So just a quick note about the opening scene. I just want you to ruminate on it for a moment. As you can see, and as you will see, the gendered experience is somewhat different. And if you remember the extracts I read about the men and their confusion. The case study, the Unitarian, Wesley Unitarian group, and you had like the program director, Todd Khalif, and the others. So they expressed confusion and unsurety as to how to proceed, and you can see here why that might be so. Anyhow, let's continue.
I was having a conversation.
You know, that one guy over there, he came over and we talked, and he left and never came back.
Yeah. I gave a guy my phone number, but I'm not going to hold my breath till he calls. I am so sick of guys asking you out, and then you never hear from them again. Why do they do that?
Is it us or is it them?
I don't know.
I mean, why is it that we always seem to attract the guys that we're not interested in? There's one guy I wanted to meet, so I smiled at him, and he never came over. I wish I could project my thoughts to him and have some force bring him to me. There's only so much one can do.
Yeah, you don't want to seem too easy or too desperate.
But you don't want to seem too standoffish either.
No, did you see that cute couple that left together? I know they just met tonight.
Sound familiar? Well, we've all gone through that. But do you know that there are ways that each of us, male and female, can improve the way that we go about meeting the person that's right for us? Now, we're not talking about one-night stands or phony pickup lines here. What we're going to show you is a natural way to meet people and hopefully to begin a relationship. We're going to show you vignettes that offer you sound and proven techniques on how to meet people, where to meet people, what to look for in a partner, how to break the ice, how to continue a conversation, how to have a positive connection, and how to have a pleasant first date. You'll also hear new ideas from 6 psychological experts. But please, don't get us wrong. We can't promise you that you'll meet someone and get married next Tuesday. But leave Sunday open.
Quite interesting, eh? Especially with the woman's statement about men taking her number and not calling her back. As we know, this would reflect the sexual market volatility, at least the first signs of it, now that the post-marriage culture had surfaced and was gathering momentum, was gathering a pace. And I was compelled to revisit an extract that I covered in the previous episode, which for me is actually kind of pertinent because it speaks to this. And also when it comes down to the blonde woman who I'm going to quote in a moment, I just thought it'd be a bit funny because the woman who complained was blonde. So yeah, without further ado. So to quote Mercer from that Unitarian case study. She said that manners in courtship were traditionally established to make the parties involved feel comfortable in what has always been a delicate situation. And while the times had changed in the 80s, or by the 80s, she stated that keeping this in mind reflects the fundamental goals of relationships and thus should produce the right reactions. Okay? So those 2 bullet points, I believe, are very relevant. I'm going to move on to some other bullet points. So, like I said, the woman that complained in that extract is blonde, and it just so happens another blonde woman who was in her late 20s wanted to know the manly way to end the relationship. And too often, Mercer said, we sneak out the back door, leaving the other person unsure of how to react. Now, Mercer stated that this is not the right way and can be messy. Be straightforward, face up to what you have to say, and say it. A man in the audience disagreed with Mercer, stating that whilst good in theory, it would lead to an argument, which is exactly what the exiting party is seeking to avoid. It's very possible that the men that asked that woman for her number and didn't follow up, it could be the competition as a result of that volatility. It could also be that maybe he had some reflections on his interaction with the woman, and that it may have been that he was led with his loins, and it might have been him being thirsty, but that maybe she wasn't the right woman. Maybe there was some form of red flags or some kind of doubt which was not justifiable for him to continue to pursue her. So, you can see how the women in question might feel away, you understand? But it's not unique to gender, and you can bet your bottom dollar or pounds that there are women that do the same, but they believe it should be unidirectional. Miss Mercer countered that. She countered that though an argument is undesirable, it is the more benign approach than disrespecting your partner by not returning calls with false claims of being busy or evasive actions.
Well, I've never been into the single scene too much, but because I really dislike it. I've seen it before, and it's not for me at all. I prefer to meet people at work or doing some of the activities I do, things like that.
I usually meet people through friends.
I go running, or I do anything that has to do with sports. Go play racquetball or tennis, go ride my bike. And you can meet guys that way, even if you're not trying to.
Wouldn't it be great if there was some kind of magic potion that you could rub on somebody, make that person instantly attracted to you? Unfortunately, life isn't that way. The right person is out there, I'll guarantee you that. But no amount of hocus pocus is going to make someone magically attracted to you. This is reality we're dealing with, not some script out of Hollywood.
Oh, Don, I'm your biggest fan. I watch you every week. You know, my ex-husband never did like you. Did I mention I'm divorced now?
Judy, you're talking to cardboard.
And she's getting more response than I did on my last date.
Oh, yeah? You didn't tell me. Another candidate for a personality transplant?
Yeah, I'm afraid so.
Well, at least you had a date.
Well, you refused to go out.
Look, I'm just tired of the whole scene.
Linda, I think it's time you made an appointment to have your attitude realigned.
Listen, you guys wanted your pictures taken or what?
No, but can I take him home?
I don't think so.
Oh, you must be shattered.
Maybe even devastated.
It's so hard to find a decent man.
Yo, there's a few things I can say, and I need to be clear. I do want your feedback. Feel free to go to town on feedback that you care to share with me. But just to comment on what we just saw a moment ago, a few things come to mind. One, the divorcee, the proud divorcee who made the joke of wanting to take the cardboard cutout home. They say that many a true word is said in jest, and to that end, that woman is an aspiring groupie, It's interesting as well. At the end of the day, what we're seeing, I can't be sure of the dynamics that she may have with her female friends, but there's that saying that single women keep women single, right? And that's what came to mind, because why would it be that a divorcee would see fit to spend time with the said single women, but the same single women probably would have exchanged, shall I say, places with her, given the opportunity. So they're complaining, if you noticed, in like the kind of more closing out scene, you noticed they were complaining about their inability to find a mate. She had discarded hers, so they weren't really operating from the same level playing field. And when it comes down to sexual market value, or SMV, it'll be interesting to kind of get an idea of who may have had more of that. And the reason why I'm mentioning that is we're going to also look at some scenes about sort of guys' perspectives. Outside of what I've just said, there was a woman at the start of it who said she's not into the whole single scene. Now, what that showed me, she spoke for the legions of people who, throughout these social transformations, just want a mate that they're happy with. If we're to take what she said at face value, they want a mate that they're happy with. They don't want to be part of the single scene and all the drama that comes with that. The others that spoke about finding a mate by chance as they're living their day-to-day life, whether that's in certain social spaces, as they sort of elaborated on, they just want to go through life and meet someone naturally. The closing out scenes that I mentioned a moment ago, those appear to be women that are seeking drama. Remember, the blonde woman, who was the same one that complained about not having men follow up with her, is the same one that was participating in that conversation. She doesn't sound, again, we're looking at her face value, but she doesn't come off as somebody who truly wants a solution. Neither of the girls, but I would say that the divorcee was an interesting one. And lest I forget to say, I did speak about the onset of divorce culture being really palpable during the 80s. So that woman, you can see that her value for men probably wasn't as high as maybe those of yesteryear, maybe, because I've obviously shown some episodes earlier in the series that may go against that. But at the very least, let's say that the disrespect that men complain about today, the incipient signs of that would be evident in the scenes that I just showed. So I just wanted to give that commentary, and as I said, it'll be very interesting to hear people's feedback, or I guess read people's feedback at what they make of what I've shown. And yeah, it'll be a learning opportunity for everybody, but I'm going to continue with the reaction. So
It's so hard to find a decent woman who'll give me the time of day.
Oh, I think she likes you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she's just playing hard to get, Kenny.
Come on, what's wrong with me? Is it my outfit? Maybe it's my hair. Do you think it's my hair? Maybe it's the fact that I'm stuck in this machine.
Hey, you were the one that promised us we would meet women if we joined this hideously expensive health club.
Yeah.
Well, you have met women, Brad. But of course, none of them measure up to your exceedingly high and probably unattainable standards.
It's not true. Look, I told you, I am just looking for the perfect woman to share my hopes, my dreams, my plans, my schemes, my ups, my downs, my laughs, and my frowns.
Stop that! I mean, even if the perfect woman did come by here and hear you blithering like that, she'd probably do 180 and walk right out of your life.
So, what do we make of the snippets I just showed you now? The guys in question remind me of the guys that I refer to from the Unitarian group, the ones that seemed a bit confused but somewhat genuine. And I would go as far as to say with not the tall guy, but with the two other guys, they may have similar views on not wanting to be part of that dating scene, but to get someone and exit, lock up shop, that type of thing. The thing is, besides their bad form, I think there are some lessons to learn from that. The taller guy seems to be self-aware that he is, let's say, popular among the ladies, and a lot of guys speak about Chadrone, Tyrone. He's probably the analog version of that. For that reason, consider that it's a post-marriage dating culture that they are in. He doesn't have any rush. There's no immediate obvious reason to get married or to settle. Whereas the guys are almost trying to nudge him and say, look, if you look at it like that, you're never going to find a woman, blah, blah, blah. One, they're presupposing he truly cares, which I'm not sure he does, at least that character. And two, those guys were projecting. In their mind, perhaps they want to live vicariously through, shall I say, the guy with the high market value. And I think they made it evident. Because this is, of course, it's a video, it's a drama production in not so many words, which is used to share some very useful information for that era. It's very interesting that they chose a tall guy, a guy that's athletic and would clearly be popular among the women. And then they've shown two shorter guys who probably aren't as, how to put this? There are guys that have said that unless a woman finds a man attractive, she barely realizes that they exist, as in she doesn't even acknowledge his existence. Now, that's not what I'm saying in this particular passage, but you can tell that the guys lack the kind of presence that their taller friend has. And so in many ways, I don't know, maybe they want to live vicariously through him, which is why they're trying to nudge him to make decisions about commitment. But again, during that period, he didn't have any pressure or compelling reason to commit. Whereas those guys, they're not the kind of guys who are as highly sought after as he would be. So, like I said, it's projection. On the surface, they may appear to be well-meaning, and I'm not saying that it's sinister, but I do believe that they are consciously or unconsciously aware that he has a different market value, and they, in a sense, want him to act more like them, and perhaps they're a bit stubborn in acknowledging the reality that he doesn't need to. So anyway, I just thought it was insightful. I thought it was an insight into differences that men experience in the dating world, and that when I gave an insight into, I think, was it one of the interviews which Sue Ellen Browder gave about men being Peter Pans during this era? Well, I mean, this passage speaks to that, in the sense that, you know, some men had it in quote good, and they were able to get the girls. And the tall guy spoke in plural form, like he didn't appear to be what guys would have one-itis, where he's only interested in one woman, because he probably has plurality of choice and he knows it. And yeah, I think that's enough. Let's move on.
Constantly you're asking yourself, am I going to meet the right person? Is this the right person? Is that the right person? And you're always feeling like you're on show and you have to be ready and available. Rather than keeping the focus on, is this the right person? I'm never going to meet him, and panicking, the best thing to do as a single person is to relax and start to do things that you can enjoy in your life. And in doing so, you become more interesting. You fill your time with more enriching activities. You can donate your time to charities, to coaching a little league team, going to classes, enriching your own life. And in doing so, you're having fun along the way, and chances are that you're meeting more people. So instead of focusing on meeting someone, the natural way to meet a right person is to feel comfortable and happy in your own life. And in doing so, you will attract people who are doing the same thing.
Look, there's much to be said about that passage we just watched. Let's see. So, of course, putting it into context, post-marriage culture, the onset of essentially the kind of culture which transcended into the 90s. I might have made this statement in a previous upload, but what we experienced in the 90s and 2000s, popular culture-wise, the seeds were sown in the 70s and 80s. In other words, the 70s to 80s were meant to be what the 90s and 2000s became. So what she has said is there's panic stations, and I would say that part of the panic stations is informed by confusion. This dating culture arose from essentially a vacuum, an empty vacuum. Once she started to remove the pillars of marital foundation, this was inevitable. And so, of course, they're going to be perturbed because it's a social experiment. We mentioned earlier with the Wesley Youth I've cited the Wesley Unitarian group and the confusion they exhibited. And so this woman was just speaking to that, to be honest. Look, we're in 2025, and for the better part of at least 15 years or thereabouts since dating apps started to gain traction, we've been hearing women complain relentlessly. Men have complained, but you hear women being the most vociferous of the complainants. And so what I'm saying is there's nothing new under the sun, okay? Really, truly is nothing new under the sun. So for anyone that thinks it's new, men aren't being men, blah, 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 this is showing that these talking points emanated from the early 1980s. And so it's the result of women putting the primacy of orgasm above family, the family unit, procreation within a marital context or structure. This is really what, in terms of the fruit that was mushrooming, right? This is what you see here. Look, the panic has been an issue for the better part of 40 or 50 years, okay? And, I mean, if people want to try to pass the buck, I mean, for the most part, women trying to pass the buck to men, when it comes down to inheriting all of the feminist propaganda, which has been soothing and been very convenient, it all comes with a price. It all comes with a trade-off, okay? So anyway, let's continue.